Hey everyone, welcome back to Extra Rise English Podcast, the show that helps you level up your English one real conversation at a time. I am Mia.
And I am Leo. So glad you're here.
Okay, I need to tell you about the worst 90 seconds of my life. I was 20 years old, working part-time at a coffee shop near my university, and a customer slammed her hand on the counter because I got her order wrong. She said, and I am quoting this exactly because it is burned into my memory, "Are you even listening to me? Honestly, this is why I do not bother explaining things to people like you." And here's the part that still embarrasses me. 5 minutes before that, I had been speaking English with my coworker about a TV show, completely fine, completely fluent. The second she said that, my brain just stopped. I said, "I am sorry," maybe 4 times. That was it. That was my entire vocabulary for 90 seconds.
And then let me guess. Around 11 o'clock that night, lying in bed, the perfect response arrived. Fully formed in English.
Word for word, I could have given a whole speech at 11 p.m. to my ceiling. 8 hours too late.
This happens to almost everyone, and I want to say clearly at the top of this episode, it is not an English problem. We're going to spend today explaining why your English actually disappears the moment someone is rude or dismissive toward you. And then we're going to give you 3 phrases that work in that exact frozen second, not 8 hours later.
Because that is the cruel part. It's not that I didn't know the words. The words came eventually. They just came at the worst possible time.
Let us get into it. This is segment 1.
Leo, why does this happen? Because I have replayed that coffee shop moment for years, and it never made sense to me that I could speak fine 1 minute and have nothing the next.
Because your brain made a decision in that moment, and the decision was not about English. When someone is rude, dismissive, or cutting toward you, your brain registers it the same way it would register a physical threat. Not as seriously, but through the same basic system. And that system has one job: keep you safe right now. It doesn't care about grammar. It doesn't care about vocabulary. It redirects resources toward things like reading the room, managing your heart rate, deciding whether to freeze, fight, or get out of there. And it redirects resources away from things it considers optional in that exact second, like retrieving a second language.
So my brain looked at defend myself in fluent English and just said, not right now.
Essentially, yes. And here's the part that explains why it felt so much worse than it would have in your first language. Think of your first language like a road you've driven every day since childhood. You don't think about the directions. You could drive it half asleep. Your second language, even when you're fluent, is a road you learned later. You drive it well, but it still takes a little more attention, a little more conscious effort. Under normal conditions, that difference barely shows up. But the moment your brain redirects its attention towards survival, it grabs whichever road takes the least effort. It doesn't grab the well-practiced second language road. It grabs the road it trusts most by default.
Oh, so in that exact second, it's not that I forgot English, it's that my brain wasn't even trying to use it. It picked the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance wasn't the path I needed.
That's exactly it. Your English did not fail you. Your brain simply wasn't asking it to perform in that moment. It was asking it to survive.
And I think there's a cultural layer on top of that too, because the other reason I had nothing to say is that nobody had ever taught me what to say. I grew up being told that you don't talk back, not to a customer, not to a teacher, not to an elder. The correct response was silence and maybe an apology, even when you were the one who did anything wrong.
That instinct is common across a lot of the cultures our listeners come from. And on its own, it's not a bad instinct. Harmony matters, respect matters, but it has a side effect nobody warns you about. If your only trained response to rudeness is silence, you never get to practice responding. The muscle never develops. So when you actually need a sentence in that frozen second, you have nothing to reach for, in any language, because you were never given anything to reach for.
I never practiced it because I was taught not to need it. And that brings us to what today actually fixes. We're not giving you comebacks.
We are not teaching you to win an argument with a rude customer or a difficult relative. We are giving you 3 short phrases whose entire job is to buy your brain a half second, not to defeat the other person, just to get your own English back online long enough for you to choose what happens next.
Because the freeze is not the enemy. Having nothing to say once the freeze happens, that is the part we can actually fix.
Let us talk about the phrases. This is segment 2.
3 phrases. And if you have ever gone blank after someone was rude to you and spent the rest of the day writing the perfect response in your head, subscribe to Extra Rise right now. This is exactly the kind of episode we make every week.
Phrase 1. Give me a second. I want to think about that. This is the buy time phrase, and it is the most useful one because it does the least. It does not defend you. It does not argue back. It simply tells the other person, and more importantly, tells your own brain that a response is coming, just not instantly. Most people, when frozen, feel enormous pressure to answer immediately, as if any delay is itself a kind of defeat. This phrase removes that pressure on purpose. You are allowed to think. Saying it out loud, even just to yourself, gives your brain permission to stop scrambling and actually search for words.
And it sounds calm, which is strange because inside you might be panicking, but the sentence itself sounds like someone who is completely in control.
That is the function of it. The words create the composure before you actually feel it. Say that phrase out loud right now. Give me a second. I want to think about that. Phrase 2. I am not sure how to take that. Can you say more about what you mean? This is the de-escalation phrase, and it works best when someone says something rude in a way that is slightly unclear. A backhanded comment, a sharp tone, a comment that could be read multiple ways. Instead of absorbing it silently or snapping back, you turn the moment into a question. You're not accusing them of being rude, you're asking them to clarify. And there are 2 things that happen when you do this. First, it buys you more time than phrase 1, because now they have to speak again before you do. Second, a surprising number of people, once asked to clarify a rude comment out loud, soften it immediately. Hearing themselves explain it makes them hear how it sounded.
So you're not fighting the comment, you're just refusing to guess what they meant.
Precisely. You hand the rudeness back to them, gently, and let them decide what to do with it. Say that phrase out loud right now. I am not sure how to take that. Can you say more about what you mean? Phrase 3. I think I need a moment before I respond to that. This is the permission to pause phrase, and it is for the moments when the freeze is too strong to push through with a quick sentence. This is different from going silent. Going silent is what your old instinct does automatically, and the other person usually reads silence as either agreement or weakness. This phrase replaces silence with a stated controlled pause. You are telling them clearly that something is happening on your end, and that you are choosing to take a beat rather than disappearing into one.
It's the difference between freezing and announcing that you're pausing.
Exactly that difference. One feels like losing control, the other sounds like someone who has enough control to ask for a moment. Say that phrase out loud right now. I think I need a moment before I respond to that.
3 phrases. 1 to buy a second, 1 to ask for clarity, 1 to give yourself permission to pause. This is segment 3. Let's drill them. 3 real situations, each one a little harder than the last. Leo models the response. Say it out loud with him. Ready?
Ready.
Scenario 1. You're working the counter at a part-time job. A customer raises their voice at you over a mistake in front of other customers. Your mind starts to go blank. Say the phrase that buys you a second.
Give me a second. I want to think about that. I'm sorry about the mix-up. Let me check what happened and get this fixed for you properly.
Say it out loud. Give me a second. I want to think about that. Notice what just happened there. Leo didn't match the customer's energy, and he didn't disappear into an apology loop either. He bought himself 1 sentence of thinking room, and that 1 sentence was enough for the rest of the response to actually come together.
That gap, that one short sentence, is the whole trick. Without it, most people either freeze completely or say something they regret. With it, you get exactly enough room to choose your next words instead of having them chosen for you by panic.
Scenario 2. You're in a meeting and a senior colleague says in front of the whole team something like, "I'm surprised this is the best you came up with. It's sharp and it's public." Say the phrase that turns it into a question instead of swallowing it.
I am not sure how to take that. Can you say more about what you mean? I want to understand specifically what is not working so I can fix it.
Say it out loud. I'm not sure how to take that. Can you say more about what you mean?
And notice that response didn't attack the colleague and it didn't collapse either. It simply declined to accept the comment at face value without explanation.
In a lot of workplace cultures, especially ones where speaking up to someone senior feels risky, this phrase is doing something quietly powerful. It's respectful in tone and firm in substance at the same time. It says, "I'm not going to pretend that landed fine, but I'm also not going to make this a confrontation." Most senior colleagues asked directly to clarify end up softening considerably. Scenario 3. You're at a family gathering and a relative makes a comment about your job, your relationship, or your life choices in front of everyone in a tone that stings. This one is the hardest because it's not a stranger and it's not a colleague, it's family, and the room is watching. Say the phrase that lets you step back without disappearing.
I think I need a moment before I respond to that. Can we talk about this later, just the two of us?
Say it out loud. I think I need a moment before I respond to that. That one is not about winning the room. It's about refusing to let the freeze turn into a silence that gets misread as agreement, while also refusing to have the real conversation in front of an audience.
Family situations carry a kind of emotional weight the other two scenarios don't carry because the relationship continues long after the room empties. The goal there is never to defeat anyone. It's to stay present enough to choose your moment, instead of either freezing completely or saying something in front of everyone that you can't take back.
Go back and say all three responses out loud: the counter, the meeting, the family gathering. Say them until the words feel like yours, because the next time someone catches you off guard, you won't have time to think of them. You'll only have time to remember them. Here's your one thing from today. The freeze is not proof that your English is bad. It's proof that you're human and that your brain for 1 second cared more about keeping you safe than about sounding fluent. That's not a flaw. It's just biology choosing the wrong moment. What changes things is having 3 short phrases ready before the moment arrives, so your brain has somewhere else to go besides silence.
And your assignment for this week is small on purpose. You don't need a rude stranger to practice on. Just pick one of the 3 phrases. Say it out loud 5 times today, in different tones. Calm, firm, even a little shaky, so your mouth knows the shape of it before you ever need it for real. Then come tell us in the comments which phrase you chose.
And if you've ever gone blank after someone was rude to you and spent the rest of the day composing the perfect response too late, you already know exactly who to share this with. Send it to them.
And if you want more of this every single week, subscribe. We'll be here.
All right, thank you so much for being here on Extra Rise English Podcast. And remember,
because one serving of English is never enough.
see you in the next episode.